It's the Joel Shit Show, featuring Joel Shit. Hi, welcome to the Joel Shit Show. I'm your host, Joel Shit. Election coverage is over, and the last episode of election coverage ended with the battery and the camera dying, so it worked out perfectly. I was winding down my no on Measure W stance, and then the battery died, and I was like, that's fine. I was animated enough. I hadn't had breakfast yet. So, we're back to normal. Yesterday I played volleyball for the second time in a month after not playing for years. We have volleyball at eBay every Thursday and Friday afternoon before the sun goes down. So now with daylight saving time being over, it's around 3:45 until 5:15. And I won 2 of 5 games, and I had 4 aces and 2 service errors. And I had 5 kills and 4 attack errors, and no blocks, just like in my daily stand-up. And I think I hit about .074, which is really bad. But everybody doesn't hit very well except for one guy who runs the thing who's actually pretty good. So everyone likes having me on their team because I'm tall. But man, I fuck up a lot. It's just volleyball's tough. I needed a new pair of shoes because the last time I played I used my running shoes that I used for work, and the tread is not for court. And I was like, I'm going to go to Ross across the street and I'm going to buy a pair of shoes because there's nowhere else for me to buy shoes. So I walk across the street and I go to Ross, and they have a loss prevention guy. You know, San Jose, actually it's Campbell, so this big black guy with a headset on, and the walkie-talkie that's not connected to anybody else, and he's standing there and he's like, oh yes, you're not going to steal from me. Because when you're in Campbell or San Jose, nothing scares you like a black guy. It's not a racist thing to say. 4% of San Jose is black. It's the one demographic we're missing, and I wish it weren't that way. I lived in the East Bay many times, and it's one of the things I miss. I was born in Hayward. I went to college in Hayward. I worked at Southland Mall for 2.5 years. You know, I grew up poor. I remember. You know, I still am very thrifty. I remember what it's... And I'm not saying all blacks are poor. Actually, I did say all blacks are poor, but it's not what I meant. What I mean is, I know what it's like to be socioeconomically disadvantaged. And the black people that I knew when I lived in the East Bay were also socioeconomically disadvantaged. And I worked with Shelly at Arby's, and we talked about her 2 kids, and they should be in college by now, but who knows what happened to them. I would give anything to catch up with Shelly. She was more than just a maker of barbecues. She was awesome. So, anyway. So yeah, so I go to Ross. I need shoes. So there's no basketball shoes. There's no court shoes. And they had a pair of those Fila shoes where the bottom is lifted, so the shoe is not flat, it's like this, so that when you walk, it's supposed to like give more exercise to your legs, so they're walking shoes. But the tread is more like a court shoe than the one I'm using for work, and the tread on my shoes that I wear to work, that are regular tennis shoes, they are worn out a little bit. They're unevenly worn out. They're like tires that are uneven, so it's not safe. So I was like, I'll buy these shoes, and I'll only use them for volleyball. So I get in line, and Ross, there's always 2 lines. There's the returns line, which also takes purchases, and the purchases line. And the degree of difficulty of getting in line at Ross is higher than at almost any grocery store. And it's really weird because you wouldn't expect Ross to be a high degree of difficulty place because it's not a very hard place to shop. It is a very hard line. Marshall's has gone with the Fry's model where you all get in one line and then you go to the next available register. Ross just doesn't care. They just want your money. So I look, and there's 3 people in the purchases line and there's 1 person in the return line, but she's returning stuff. But I stubbornly said, I'm taking this line because it's shorter. So I'm standing there, and it's 2 senior citizens, and they're talking about what this store used to be and everything that senior citizens do, and, you know, I have a senior discount, here's my ID, and all this stuff. And so they're returning stuff, and, oh yeah, you know, I didn't want to return it, but it's just broke. You have people that have, like, I call it the liberal guilt. You know, I obviously exhibit it all the time. You know, the liberal guilt of, oh God, you know, I'm an affront to someone else. This is why we can't get shit done in Congress. Because we're so fucking worried about what other people are thinking, and it's like, oh, maybe we should extend the tax cuts to the richest 2%, even though 45% of Americans don't want that, because, you know, we want everyone to like us. Well, that is why people go into politics. Well, maybe it's because they want money, because it's very corrupt. But athletes because they want people to like them at the lower levels too. Yes. So anyway, she's processing returns, and returns are the biggest crapshoot at Ross ever, because some things they leave a tag on, you return, it takes 10 seconds, you're done. Other times there's not even a tag, there's no receipt. Maybe they didn't even buy this at Ross, they're just trying to get store credit, store credit, store credit. And so they do what they can. And then they keep distracting the woman behind the counter because they're telling the senior citizen stories. Now here's the thing, when I'm 70, I'm going to be lonely too. And I'm going to be doing the same thing. I do that shit now. But because I'm younger, the clerk does not give me that respect. They just ignore me. They don't care. They don't care that I know that 880 used to be also State Highway 17 until 1988. They don't care. They don't need me to tell them that shit. But if I were 70 years old, they would tolerate it because you respect your elders. And when our generation gets older, we're going to cash in on that shit because we're all going to be lonely because the divorce rate's going to be like 75% and everyone's going to want to go out with 20-year-old models, but the androids won't be done yet, so we'll have to go out with real 20-year-old women, and then they'll be very self-absorbed because that's how we're raising our kids today. And we're not having that many kids anymore, so there's just not going to be that many of them, and so they're all going to become kept, and it'll be the same money that was going to pay for those politicians that, you know, are... That's why they're in Congress, and it's not because they're trying to get shit done. Now that money's going to be going to all the 20-year-olds, and then they're going to have the money, and so then they're not going to need the old men anymore, and so then they're going to have their money, and then they can do whatever they want. So, I decided when the clerk pulled out the binder with all the UPC barcodes and was trying to figure out which one to scan to process the return, I said, okay, I am going in the line with now 4 people in it, because no one's gotten in line behind me, which tells me that other people know the score, and they know that I fucked up getting in that line. Because I'm only holding a pair of shoes. I'm obviously a fast transaction. I'm going in the other line, of which 2 of the 4 people in front of me have like 10 things to buy, and they're clothing. So the Ross worker has to take the clothing out and look at it, and fold it up, and scan the tag, and put the hanger, take the hanger off, put it in a bag. Times 10. Takes longer to do than it does to explain, and it takes a long time to explain it. So, alright. The woman that got in front of me in line, because I went to the other line first, has about a dozen things. And I've shown to her that I have admitted a mistake by getting in that line because I let her in front of me, and of course, even though I'm only buying one thing, she's not going to let me ahead of her. But that's okay, because I deserve that. I took a risk. I have to pay the price and be responsible for my actions. Fine. I look to my left. They're done processing the return, but now there's someone in line. So the next person gets in line, and there's a fast transaction, and she's done. And behind her, there's another person in line, and it's a fast transaction, and it's done. And I'm thinking, I should be gone now. That's a -3. Then I look over, and there's 6 people in line in that register, so there's no turning back. I have to tough it out. It's like when you're on the freeway, and you pick the wrong lane, and the speed differential between the lane you're in and the lane next to you is like 30 miles an hour. There's no way that you're going to pull into that oncoming traffic, because you're going to get rear-ended. And it's just a dick move anyway, because then you slow down the traffic in that lane. So I was like, I'm going to post things on Twitter, and I probably did, I don't know. Plus, I'm not in that big of a hurry anyway, because volleyball starts at 4, not 3:45. They told us 3:45. It turns out later got pushed back to 4. If you show up at the very beginning, you have to help set up. I don't know how to set up yet, and because they have enough people that like to set up, they don't really need my help. So what happens is I stand around awkwardly, and I look like the guy that never tries to help, when in reality, they just don't want my help. Ugh. So this is actually working out in my favor. I have the time to kill, and that is how it worked out. So I bought my stupid shoes. I go to the fitness center, change into them. That's when I realize they're the kind that go like this. And I go, oh, I get to play volleyball in shoes that aren't flat. This should be interesting. It really didn't have much of an effect, but I would definitely be better off having court shoes. But the die has been cast, so I'm not going to return them. I'm just going to wear these crappy shoes until they wear out, and it'll probably take 5-10 years, because when I was playing volleyball 3 times a week, those shoes lasted me a year, and I'm barely playing volleyball twice a month right now, because Thursday and Friday afternoon, I mean, I have meetings then. Friday afternoon, do I really want to stick around just so I can play volleyball? Well, actually, yeah, I do. But like today, I have something else to do this afternoon. I will not be playing volleyball. But it's very exciting what I'm doing this afternoon, and I'm going to tell you about it tomorrow. That's all the time we have for today. Visit us on the web at joelshitshow.com. email joel@joelshitshow.com.